Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy Haha Joker, man. And today we're going to be going over season 3 of Haikyuu. Now, season 3 does have a movie. It I think they kind of just broke up season 3 from the movie into an actual season, but there are some things missing, obviously, out of the movie that are still left in season 3, some backstories and things of that nature towards, especially closer towards the end of season 3. There are some things that the movie does leave out. So if you are going to watch this, I would recommend you watch season 3 instead of the movie. But either way, man, if you guys enjoy these reviews and recaps, man, make sure you guys drop a like. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, man. It's free. It only takes 1 second. With that being said, let's go ahead, jump straight into it. Season 3 of Haikyuu. So now, coming in off of season 2, the ending of season 2, obviously the rematch between Abajosai and Karasuno. Karasuno ended up getting the dub and going into the championship match against Saratorizawa, led by Ushijima. But since this is now a championship match, the sets are actually up to 5 instead of being up to 3, with the 5th set being up to 15. Now, the set 5 going up to 15 can go into deuce just like all the other sets, but obviously all the other sets, even the 4th set, is up to 25. Now, getting into it, set 1, Ushijima, damn, he shows off rip why Shiratorizawa is number 1 and why he is the number 1 ace. The amount of power he is getting out of these spikes, it is insane. And as it is, just blowing through blocks, but not only that, Nishinoya, the Libra for Karasuno, can't even dig these spikes up. And it's referenced pretty early that Ushijima is left-handed. So a lot of this kind of changes the aspect on how Nishinoya picks up these spikes, because now the ball is rotating differently. But not just that, for the blockers, things are a little bit differently. 9 times out of 10, these blockers are typically, especially if it's like a one-on-one situation or even a 2-on-1 situation, they're typically lined up with the dominant hand of whatever the spiker is, which is normally right-handed. But now that it's a left-handed player, this is now different. On top of, like I said, Ushijima being a powerful spiker already as it is, set 1 is not going well for Karasuno, trying to deal with that. And on top of that, the fact that Ushijima is also a great server. Now, obviously, nowhere is near the caliber of a server that Onikawa is, because Onikawa kind of prides himself on like having some power, but the precision of his spikes is what makes it so dangerous. Ushijima is just a powerful server, obviously, along with his spikes. So these things all together in set 1, obviously Shiratorizawa ends up taking set 1. Now, getting into set 2, obviously Karasuno now is making this a very close game. Now, throughout this set, we notice a lot of things with Tsukishima. Now, Tsukishima seems to have taken over the defensive aspect of Karasuno as far as how he thinks blocks should be set up. Now they are now starting to target Ushijima in a way that is forcing him to now send straight spikes towards Nishinoya. Now, here's the thing. Nishinoya is not able to pick up all these spikes because they are still powerful, but he is getting accustomed to these spikes, and this is now giving Karasuno second chance opportunities to then get points. Now, with set 2 being the way it is now, obviously in comparison to set 1, this is actually a game now. We then get our first look at another player on Shiratorizawa. So now midway through set 2, we get introduced to another player that is on Shiratorizawa, being Satori. Now, Satori has a nickname called the Guest Monster, and this kind of speaks volumes because of his ability to block, but he more so doesn't block like typical blockers, like a commit block or reblock. He just uses his intuition and kind of certain things that he notices to get blocked, essentially making an educated guess on where the block is going to go. But he is able to do this so well that it really throws Karasuno off. We get more information about it once the Karasuno coach calls a timeout and we understand what guest blocking is. So essentially we do get to see at one moment where Kageyama is actually kind of nodding over something to Asahi that he could possibly be getting the ball. Now, Satori actually picks up on this and realizes that, nah, that was too obvious. He's not going to go there. And he ends up guessing right and getting the block on somebody else. I think it was on either Tanaka or Hinata. But either way, this is the ability that he's able to have. And obviously, along with, picking up on body language from Kageyama and things of that nature, guest blocking is a mind game. Now, as it is, Satori prides himself on getting blocks. He's not for the getting one touches or whatever. He wants to get points with blocks to the point that I think he wants to get just as many points as Ushijima does with spikes, but with his ability to block. And we see a lot of this with the guest blocking that he's able to do. We see him being able to stop at one point in time to go one way, but then he automatically thinks, no, he can't be going there. And then he turns around and dips back to where the ball is going, and he's able to get there in time. Satori has a very weird thing about him. You know what I'm saying? Like he comes off as scary in a sense. You know what I mean? But he's outgoing. He talks a lot. He's literally the flip side of Ushijima. You know what I'm saying? As far as being, one side of one coin and the other, like Ushijima is serious all the time. I don't even think I've seen this dude ever crack a smile. You know what I'm saying? But obviously Satori is not like that. He's very goofy and he's very playful, but he has a very ominous nature about him. You know what I mean? Like cynical in a way, but he prides himself on getting blocks because of what he sees on his opponent's face when he gets these blocks. And obviously his ability to guess block and use his intuition to get these blocks and to get these points, it just fuels him to do it more. One thing that we don't notice is that Shikishima, along with, like I said, taking over the defensive aspect of Karasuno and figuring out how to cut off angles on Ushijima and force him to have spikes go to the Libra, we see that he's also playing a chess game with their setter. So now getting into the back end of set 2, this is obviously a deuce set now, and this deuce set is getting kind of high up. The points, I believe, are like either 27 or 28. But we notice with all the spikes getting dug up off of Ushijima, the setter is starting to get discouraged that he feels like he's putting Ushijima in bad spots to not get points. At this moment now, Karasuno is up 1 in the deuce set, and they only need one more point to get. Now, Shiratorizawa has the possession of the ball, and they went for a set, but the set is a little low and close to the net. And apparently, this is what Shikishima has been waiting for. He gets over to the spot, but there's a gap between him and I believe it's either Tanaka or Asahi. There's a gap there. And obviously, Ushijima sees this gap and he goes for the spike to tie the set back up to deuce. But Suki moves his hands over at the last second and gets the block on Ushijima, giving Karasuno the point to win set 2. Now, this is huge because obviously they have not been able to actually stop Ushijima this whole time. Mostly it's been either getting dug up by Nishinoya, or there's been one touch opportunities if the ball went to another wing spiker other than Ushijima. They've been getting a lot of one touches, but they have not been able to get a block on Ushijima. So this is huge. But we also get a flashback moment to when Bokuto told Suki that, hey, look, there's going to be a moment where you fall in love with volleyball. And this was the moment. We see Suki actually say, like, this is a club, back to things that he used to say in the past. And this is the first time we see Suki get hyped over something in a volleyball game. And this in return hypes up everybody else around him. And this part of the anime, this sent chills down my spine because we see Suki always being just like pretty much out of anybody who's a starter on that Karasuno team, Suki's just always been in the background. And the fact that he had a moment like this, being the calm, cool, kind of not really caring type person that he is, the fact that he got this excited over a block to seal set 2 was huge. But keep in mind, this is the defending champions in Shiratorizawa, so they're not going to just roll over just because of this happening. So what ends up happening is that they take set 3 in great fashion. 25, I believe it was 25-18. They took set 3, no problem. Now getting into set 4, things are now changing because now Karasuno's back is against the wall in this. But not just that, Karasuno has never played into a set 4. This game is starting to weigh on certain players, particularly Kageyama, because he has not gotten off the court yet. And obviously between all of the setting and all of the trying to get blocks and things of that nature, obviously he is starting to fatigue. And we can see that getting more so into the back end of set 4, which set 4 actually ended up going into a deuce set also. Kageyama tries to make a set for Tsukishima and it fell short, I believe, but Suki was still able to adjust and get the point. But we see more into the deuce set of set 4 that now Kageyama is trying to make a set to Hinata to seal set 4, but his form is starting to lack. And we notice this because the guest monster is picking up on it. He's noticing that his form is now lacking, and now he is able to pick up on where he's trying to go. He knew that he was going to Hinata, so obviously he adjusted, he got over quick, but the set was off. But Hinata, once again, just like Suki, adjusted to it and still ended up getting the point anyways. I believe he hit it with his left hand and got the point to seal set 4. But getting into now set 5, Kageyama is not starting this set. Everybody started to notice that the fatigue was taking toll on Kageyama, so now Suga comes in to start set 5. Now, once again, set 5 is only up to 15, but it can go into deuce, so every point counts, especially early on. Now, obviously, since Suga is now just getting on the court, he now also has to deal with the guest monster, who is able to pick up on him a little bit better than he was able to pick up on Kageyama. But getting around to the midway point of set 5, Tsukishima ends up going for a block. It ends up getting injured. He ends up hurting his pinky, which then it's cut and it's cut really bad. Once again, this is how powerful these spikes are that's coming from Ushijima. But since he is bleeding, he has to step off the court and he has to get it checked out. And we do have a little clip of him. We do see the effect that this has on Suki, that he's actually showing emotion about this game, that he's hurt, that now he has to go out of this game. And we see him have a run-in with his brother and stuff like that, and he's still trying to play it cool, but we see that Suki is hurt by this, that he can't be on the court with his teammates. With that, honestly, I don't even know who this guy is, but some random dude ends up subbing in, and the defense is lacking. Obviously, Shiratori starts rallying back because the blocks are just not the same, that Suki is gone out of this game. But just because Suki is gone does not mean that the offense has stopped. Obviously, Suga is doing whatever he can. Even we see Nishinoya even getting involved with doing the set from his Libra spot and them doing these synchro attacks. It is still throwing Shiratori off. But getting into a little bit after the midway point, we see Kageyama get subbed back in to help close out this 5th and last set. And now the game is going back and forth, which ends up leading into a deuce set in set 5. But now we actually have a return of Tsukishima. He comes back into the game and he apparently has taped his pinky finger to his ring finger to stabilize his pinky. And obviously him getting back into the game, he now makes another defensive change to hopefully help close out this game against Shiratori. Now, once again, most of these blocks that they have been setting up against Ushijima have just been them focusing on just making sure Ushijima has straight shots only to Nishinoya so he can hopefully dig these spikes up. But now with the change, now obviously Suki is now getting even better with his ability to do read blocking, which means he's not falling for the decoys anymore. But now as we get to the final moments of set 5, we do see that the plan Suki has set up when he had got back, they're now putting that plan in motion. So instead of now cutting off angles to Ushijima that lead to him just doing a straight spike to Nishinoya, they are now going to go back to doing a wall block and just completely block him off, hopefully getting a block on him. Which then leads us to this great animation that they always do for this anime. Love to see it every single time. But they go up for a 3-man block, and now Ushijima is forced to now turn the ball to now a cut shot, which then seems like it's going to go out. And then we, once again, like I said, we see this great animation of pretty much Ushijima just overpowering Hinata and Suki. But then we see a hand come in, which is Dashi. So as the ball is going out, we see Dashi go in to make a diving save and hit the ball back in, which goes straight to Asahi. And then obviously we see Asahi come in to help move Ushijima off of Suki and Hinata. As Asahi goes for the spike, he ends up getting blocked, but the ball ends up going towards the back court. This is when we see Tanaka come in, and then he ends up picking the ball back up, and then they go into their synchro attack. But most of the time that they have done their synchro attack, obviously getting into the tempos and stuff like that, typically typically Hinata is doing his minus tempo, which is just a crazy quick that they've always done. But they obviously have referred to it as a tempo, where in the synchro, everybody is pretty much on first tempo, but Hinata is the only one that is on minus tempo if they choose to do the crazy quick. But this time, Hinata has changed up his tempo, and now he has gone to a first tempo along with everybody else. So now he is just blending in with everybody. And then obviously everybody does not know what's going to happen. And the ball ends up going straight to Hinata. And once again, we get this nice animation. Hinata has a clear view on where he wants the spike to go. He delivers the spike, but it ends up getting hit, but it's still not enough. It just ends up ricocheting off of one of the Shiratorizawa players. It ends up going into the backcourt, and the game is over. Karasuno ends up getting the win over Shiratorizawa. Now, once again, I have already referenced this in my opinion. Now, in my opinion, the end of this anime, obviously, they referenced it themselves. But in my opinion, Suki was by far the MVP of this season 3. Because we saw the character growth with Suki. And that's one of the good things that this anime does, is that even though there are a lot of different characters, we do see character development between all of these characters. Even if Yamagichi, who was the pinch server for Karasuno, he doesn't get a lot of airtime, but once again, when he is in the game, we see some character development in him. And Suki was by far the biggest character development because we didn't see too much from him. Like I said, the primary starters that are always on the court, Suki has always been in the background. You know what I'm saying? They always featured, obviously, Hinata and Kageyama, obviously Dashi being the captain, obviously Asahi being the ace, and obviously Tanaka in his ability to, you know, be outgoing and stuff like that, along with Nishinoya. But Suki has always just been in the background, just doing his own thing. And the fact that he came out and just took over the defense, getting the block on Usujima to seal set 2, and obviously getting injured, but then coming back into the game injured and being able to do certain things. To one point, actually, that I didn't reference, in set 5, he actually ended up trying to do a broad jump to he actually tried doing a broad jump to get a spike, and that's something that Hinata normally does, but Suki just did it to distract Satori on Shiratorizawa from guessing that it was going to him, and that little bit of hesitation that he had, that threw him off. And Suki is doing all of this on the fly, and obviously making the defensive adjustment to then go to a 3-man block against Usujima and throwing him off. Like I said, in my opinion, Suki is the MVP of season 3. But either way, you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions on season 3, man. Obviously, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, just on the simple fact that they were able to take a character like Suki and make him in my opinion, the primary guy in this anime, at least in this season, is huge. You know what I'm saying? But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this review and recap of season 3. If you did, once again, make sure you guys drop a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel, man. It's free. It only takes 1 second. That being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right. Peace.